Belacha, hoş Ahmedid. Welcome once more, another Monday to Las Plumas live stream. How are you? My name is Plumas and I'm going to be the host for today's session. A reading session, a reading aloud session, and I'm very excited because today we are finishing, I promise we are, today we're finishing the story of Zol and Rodabe, and it's really exciting for me. We comment, Salam Naim Chatori. Hello, no, soy Ros, how are you? So I'm very excited, I am very happy because I really like this story, and I wish it could be not longer because there's no point to making it longer, it's good as it is. But you know, it's one of those stories that I wish I could revisit over and over with you. It's one of those things I would erase from my mind to be able to enjoy it once more. Not the whole Book of Kings though. I mean, though some of the sufferings contained in this book, I have my share. I'm okay with it. And you know, if you've been there with me, reading for these 15 parts, together with me, you know exactly which episode I am referring to with my words. But yeah, hi, welcome everyone. I hope you have had a good Monday. I'm gonna stop the music already. That's good. Oh yeah, I hope you had a good Monday. Mine was just a normal Monday, just working. That's basically what it was. And okay, there's some things I'd like to talk about with you, but one of them, some of the parts are very, very hard. Yes, I know, some of the episodes in the Book of Kings are okay. No, I mean, I'm very much okay with knowing what's coming. However, that doesn't prevent me from shedding a few tears every time I reread them. You've been witnessing that with me. It's just, I know some of the deaths, some of the most cruel episodes I've dealt. I mean, I cried with them. I did. I'm sorry, and I'm not sorry. I'm not. Don't be sorry for crying if you are consuming some kind of media that you really is emotional, gets to you. Don't apologize for crying. So there's a few things I would like to talk to you about. One of them is that we are coming close to the season finale. Like we're finishing this season. I know this is a bit. She's like, oh no, I can't. Although to me, I suffer a little bit more with the death of Feridun when Feridun decides to stop living. Oh no, no. That's one of the few times I've actually cried in this live stream. Just a tiny tear. With Irash, I held my ground. I could stood in my place, but with Feridun he's too important. He's too important for me for not being, emotional about it. But yeah, as I was saying, we are coming close to the end of the season, which is if I'm actually honest with myself, it's been a very long season. We started in September. Don't remember exactly when, but we started there in September, and there's a lot of things that happened. Exactly, Team Cow will never fail me, and there's a lot of streams we've covered. There's a lot of things we did. There was only one stopping part in winter, like the winter break I took. But yeah, I want to finish this season at the end of June. Next week, there's not going to be a live stream because I have something to do. I'm not going to be available. But when June finishes, let me just check the calendar. So next week, next week, there's not going to be a live stream. That will be the 21st. And the 28th will be actually the last English live stream of the season. I am not sure yet of what we are going to do. Maybe nothing, maybe something. I actually don't know. I need to think about it, don't I? I will come up with something. And yeah, then I'm going to stop. And for this whole month of July, I'm not going to be here on Twitch. I might or might not come back in August. I actually have no idea. It depends on a lot of things. But I need to take a break. I need to rest a little bit and shake my shoulders. And who am I kidding? I'm taking this break to really kick off the finishing of the thesis. I really want to finish this because I'm submitting in September. I want to just be done with it, and yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna spend my off Twitch month. We'll miss the streams, but it's okay. We want you to be at your 100%. Thank you so much, Ross. I appreciate that you will be patient with it, but sometimes we need to take breaks. It's really healthy. You should take breaks from time to time too. And I think that was it actually. Yeah, I was like, the next week's not going to be a live stream, then the next one's going to be the last one, and yeah, now I can move into the important part, which is thank you so much to everyone who's clicked on follow on the channel, to everyone who's subscribed to the channel, and especially shout out to my Patreon family, my family in Patreon that they have my back, they support me, and I love you dearly to every single one of you. Thank you so much. And if you want to support the project on Patreon, just feel free to have a look at it. You will have access to extra content, a little bit of, you know, Patreon exclusive things, and yeah, a lot of things are coming for the next season, and a lot of things are coming for Patreon. But before that, I really need to finish the thesis. I'm just really looking forward to it. It's been great. It's been nice. It's been lovely. Been a PhD student for almost coming to the 4th anniversary of this, but I'm done. I am very done. And you know, sometimes life is about moving on too. It's, you know, learning how to finishing stages and, you know, finishing a chapter to start the next one. It's been great actually. I'm looking forward to things that are going to happen after the thesis, but for them to happen, I have to finish. So yeah, for the very end, the Plumas' thesis. Thank you. Lovely black tea. Lovely black tea. So, am I forgetting something? I really don't think I am. So, So that's it. Let's start with the reading of the Shāh-nāmeh. I don't know if you remember, because it's been a while since we read. Naeem is also, you know, sharing his class with us. So basically, we were at the point where Zol takes a letter from his father Som to King Manusher. And basically, what Zal's going to do is convince Manusher that his marriage to be with Rudabeh, with the daughter of Mehrab, king of Kabul, is an auspicious one, and it's something that should happen. And basically, he's asking Manusher for permission. I mean, it doesn't say exactly, but let's just... You know how Zal was very intense about all of this, and you know how Zal, he was kind of insistent in that no matter the odds, he would marry Rudabeh. So, yes and no, because for sure he can... This is funny to explain. Alright, so it doesn't really matter how much Zol, Sam, Sindocht, Rudabeh want this union to happen. If Manusher, king of kings, person sitting at the throne of Iran, if he doesn't approve of this, it's not happening. Like, it's just, it doesn't really matter how much and how strongly the other characters want the union to happen. This marriage is not taking place unless Manusher says yes. And they know, they're very much aware, because if just think of it for a moment, if they didn't consider Manusher's opinion so highly, they would have done it anyway. So basically, Zol took the letter, he delivered Sam's letter to King Manusher. And then this is what, we starting in here with Zol getting, arriving to the court of King Manusher and giving him Sam's letter. Also, it's important to remember that Sam, Zol's father, is very close friends with Manusher. And yes, again, I say friends as in friendship. It's not friends, which some of the people in this book are. No, they're not friends. They're friends. They're good. They're really good friends. So Sam has hopes of his son being able to convince Manusher because he's going with his blessing. Kind of like they know that there's a king of kings and then a prince. But for good old time's sake, maybe Manusher will be more willing to listen than if it was the case of, somebody he didn't know. So, Manusher learned that Zal was approaching, and the nobles of his court went out to welcome him. A way was quickly cleared for him, and when he entered the court, he kissed the ground and called down blessings on the king, which is something we're very used to at this point in the poem. Everyone does this. It's etiquette. It's protocol. For a long time, he kept his eyes lowered. Like Zal doesn't dare, hello Serapis, how are you? Zal doesn't dare to look at Manusher in the eye. He's very sweet. I'm just like, Zal is my favorite. I can't help it. For a long time, he kept his eyes lowered until the king bade him welcome and he approached the throne. So do not approach the throne if the king didn't ask you to do that. Important. The king asked him how he had endured the wind and dust of his journey, and he answered, "By your grace, everything is made easy, and all troubles are a comfort." I mean, Zal, for sure, yeah. For sure, that sore and pain in your back, it was made easier because of Manusher's presence. Yeah, I'm buying this. I'm completely buying this. The king took the letter he carried, smiled, and acted affably towards him. When he had read the letter, King Manusher said, "An ancient matter troubles my heart, and you have added to it. But your father Sam has written this letter with such anxiety and grief that I agree to your request and will think no more of the matter." So basically, this thing with the legacy of Zahok still being in the world, it's troubled Manusher for some time. It's taking some few nights of sleep have been taken from him because he was thinking about this. But again, because Sam is his friend, he's willing to, to agree to this. He says, "Okay," I'm all right, have it your way. But I will see that you have your heart's desire, if this is what you wish, even though my heart is unsettled about this. Manusher is still not sure about this. Stewards brought in a golden table, and Manusher sat down before it with Zal and ordered the nobles to take their places beside them. When the king had finished eating, we're gonna have lunch, I think, yeah, he invited Zal to eat. Good. When the king had finished eating, another area was prepared for them to drink together. Zal drank wine with the king and then sat in his golden saddle and departed. Throughout the night, his heart was filled with thoughts, his lips with murmured words. So, Zal more or less got the answer he was looking for because King Manusher said yes. However, for some reason, his heart is not at peace. He knows something is coming. One of these situations when you wonder, it cannot be that easy. It's impossible. It is this easy. So this is what Zal is thinking right now. At daybreak the next day, he came to pay his respects to Manusher, who greeted him warmly, and after he left, praised him in private. Then the king summoned his priests, astrologers, and sages before the throne and commanded them to search the heavens. They spent 3 days with the astrologers, laboriously studying the stars to know their secrets, and on the 4th day, this first sounds like Lord of the Rings, exactly, they calm before the storm. This sounds like Lord of the Rings when they're like a daybreak of the 5th day, this is the 4th day. On the 4th day, they came before the king, the astrologers and sages, and said, "Our calculations show the water here will be a mighty current, strong and clear. The son of Zal and Rudabeh will be a hero famed for all eternity. Strength will be his, and swords and praise, and battles and banquets will fill all his days. No eagle will outsoar him, and no lord will be his equal. With his glittering sword he'll make the air weep, and his food will be a roasted wild ass, spit on a tree. Prompt in his monarch service, prompt to fight, Iran's protector and stout-hearted knight." Because remember, this prediction, this prophecy that the kid that will be born from the union of Zal and Rudabeh will be the hero with capital, in capital shiny neon letters, the hero of Iran. Everyone knew about this except Manusher. So Manusher, this is something actually very sweet I like thinking of Manusher. Manusher says yes because he's agreeing to the son of his good friend to get married. But he doesn't know of this. He doesn't know the prophecy. He doesn't know of this kid. He doesn't have a peek or a clue of what the future is going to look like. However, he says yes because Manusher is a great guy. he is the true heir of his great-grandfather Feridun. He is a lovely person and he's reasonable. He understands. I really like Manusher. Like, I really do. From his young years, hunting down his great-uncles, Sam, Salm, and Tur. Bad people. From this very moment, just pay attention to that detail, Butcha, because it's beautiful. Manusher says yes before knowing what's coming. Are the astrologers always right in the Shāh-nāmeh? Most of the time they are, exactly. So let's just say, like Naim, in the Shāh-nāmeh, the role of destiny, this is an epic. This is an epic poem, so the role of destiny, it's fundamental. However, this is a Muslim book, so this destiny takes the shape of God themselves. So whatever God dictates and has prepared for the characters in the Shāh-nāmeh will become true because it's God's will. On this note, every single time the astrologers have a glimpse of the future, this is the plan that God has arranged for everyone to live upon. So yes, they normally are right. And sometimes happens like in other kind of epics, Greek, Norse, Indian, African, that you cannot escape destiny. Because again, the destiny has been orchestrated by God. And there's no way you can escape to the will of the heavens, to the will. Like the highest will cannot be escaped. If you have a destiny, you will end up meeting it one way or another. Sometimes it's not the more logical way, but it happens. It is fulfilled. And for example, Zahog, my favorite character in the Shāh-nāmeh, was predicted an awful future, and he still ruled for 1,000 years. But in the end, he had a terrible ending. Same with I forgot Jamshid. Same with See, I dislike Jamshid so much that I refuse to call him Jamshid. I call him Yima because Yima is the Zoroastrian / Avestan king that I like, so I don't want to call him Jamshid. I want to call him Yima. So Yima, let's say Jamshid. So something very similar happened with Jamshid when he was walking away from God and he was turning into a more darker person because he was being pretentious. He was being arrogant. The astrologers warned him, saying, like, don't do this because if you do that, you're condemning, you're dooming your future. But Jamshid didn't listen to them. And then the astrologers predicted that, in fact, he would meet a terrible ending. And he did. He was cut into halves by Zahog in China. Anyway, so yeah, I just want to point out that lovely detail that tells us so much about what kind of person Manusher is. He says yes before knowing. And this is one of my favorite parts. This is just like, I really like this one. So the king said to them, thank you. But for now, keep what you have told me as a secret. Shh. Manusher doesn't know that everyone knows of this, but you know. Then he summoned Zal again so he could question him. Then the sages sat with Zal and questioned him to test his wisdom. One of them said, there are 12 flourishing, splendid cypress trees, each of which has 30 branches. Another said, there are 2 fine, swiftly galloping horses. One of them is black as a sea of pitch, and the other one is white as clear crystal. A third sage said, this is a wonder. There's a group of riders who pass by the prince, and sometimes there are 30 of them. When you look, sometimes there are 29. One is not there, and then when you count again, there's 30. The fourth person said, you see a beautiful meadow filled with green plants and threaded by streams. A man comes here holding a huge scythe, and he cuts down the plants, whether they are fresh or dry, never swerving aside as he does so. And then a fifth sage says, there are 2 cypresses rising from the ocean, and a bird has built the nest there. He sits on one at night and on the other during the day. When he flies up from the one, its leaves wither and dry, And when he sits on the other, it exhales the scent of musk. One is always withered. The other is always fresh and fragrant. And another riddle. In the mountains I discovered a flourishing city, but people left it, preferring a thorny waste where they built houses towering up to the moon. They forgot the flourishing city and never mentioned it. Then an earthquake came, and the houses disappeared, and they longed for the city they had left. Now, explain these things to me. Explain these sayings to us. If you can do so, you will be turning dusk into musk. So all of these are riddles, okay? They're sayings, they're riddles, they're expressions, and they're questioning God. They're not giving him time to think. It's not one and then the other. No. They're just shooting at them, at him, the questions. One after the other, non-stop, because they want to test how good this part of Zol is illuminated. So let's just see. Let's just see one. Do you want to try? Do you want to try solving the riddles? It might be a little bit complicated though. Let's just not read all of them. All right, so that was one. The first one. Let's just start with the first one. There are there are 12 flourishing, splendid cypress trees. Each of them has 30 branches. What is this, Bachel? Can you tell? If not, don't worry. I didn't get all of them when I first read them. So that one's a little bit tricky. I think you can get half of it, but maybe not the other half, because the other half is a little bit more complicated. They're a little bit, they're not the easiest questions, I have to say. But that makes sense, because they want to test Zol's intelligence, so they cannot ask us simple, easy questions. Maybe some people that have read the Shāh-nāmeh know the answer already. I have no idea. But I think I'm going to carry on with the answers. So first, the 12 tall trees, each of which has 30 branches, are the 12 months of the year. Ta-da! 12 times the moon is renewed in her place, like a new king seated on his throne, and each month has 30 days. And this is how time passes. So the first answer is time, as in a complete year. As for the two horses who gallop swiftly as fire, the white and the black, striving to overtake one another. Do you know what are they? Just imagine two horses, a very dark horse and a very white horse, running, chasing each other, trying to overcome the other constantly. Can you guess what this is? I got this one actually. I'm very proud of myself because I got a Persian riddle. Nope. All right, they're day and night. They're the day and the night. The shadow and the light. That was a good one. That was a very good one. Also, Rose, almost is the day and the night. They are night and day which pass over us across the heaven. Third, the 30 horsemen you spoke who passes before the prince, of whom one is lacking, and then when one counts, it's 30 again. So there's like these group of horsemen. When you count them, there's 30. But then you look again, and there's 29. But if you count again, there's 30. So this signifies the fact that in some months, one night is sometimes lacking. So you know how sometimes the matching of the time is not perfect. So there will be 30 days counted on the calendar. However, because of the night does not belong to the day, it's most, and it's, actually it's 29 days. So yeah. Hi Liz. Oh, hi Letty. How are you? It's good. Don't worry. I mean, it's fine. But please, do not swear, because my moderator, I won't allow it. Thank you so much. What's going on? We're reading the Shāh-nāmeh. Another answer is Herodotus. Herodotus counting the. Herodotus counting. the horsemen. 29, 30, 29, 30. Yeah, I can see that as a thing. I definitely can see that as a thing. What else? Oh yeah. Now I shall unsheath the sword of my speech and explain the two trees on which the bird builds the nests. This is a complicated one. Like, this is very complicated. I'm gonna read you the riddle so you can, like, this one spoiled me entirely. Like, I couldn't understand it properly. So there are two. This is the riddle. The riddle says there are two cypresses rising from the ocean, and a bird has built the nest there. He sits on one at night and on the other during the day. When he flies up from the one, it sleeps withered and dry, and when he sits on the other, it exhales the scent of musk. One of the trees is always withered, and the other tree is always fresh and fragrant. This is the answer, okay? Do not expect something logical. I mean, it is logical, but you know, it's not something you can know. So do not worry, you're not dumb. You just don't know, and it's okay. I'm saying this as a kudos to myself because I couldn't get this. So now I shall unsheath the sword of my speech and explain the two trees on which the bird builds its nests. What is that? Oh yeah, I couldn't pass it because it said, oh my God. So it was because of the F, the moderator did not tolerate it. I'm really sorry it got deleted. I'm really sorry, Letty. I'm really sorry, but it's because of the swearing. Sorry. It's just like my mode is actually very high up, so that is something that it's not just not allowed on the chat. Sorry, but yeah, that's what happened. Don't worry, I still got your message, but my the Streamlabs app was telling me like this is gonna be deleted. But I got your message. Hi, and don't worry, you're never late. You always expect it to come whenever you come, unless I am offline. Then a little bit. So yeah, so that the answer to the riddle. From the sign of Aries to that of Libra, the world lies in darkness until it passes into the sign of Pisces. So Zal knows astrology and astronomy, okay? So yeah, from the sign of Pisces, and the two cypresses are the two halves of the heavens, of which one half is always withered and one fresh. The bird is actually the sun, which keeps the world in hope and fear. That's it. One of the cypresses is half of the heavens, the other cypress is the other half of the heavens, and the bird is the sun. So again, it's a sign of the passing of time. These answers did not satisfy me. I was actually very happy to see that they included an astronomy-related question, but I was not pleased with the answer because there was no way I could get this. Anyhow, the city, yeah, the riddle of the city. The city in the mountains is the eternal world, and the thorny waste is the fleeting world, which gives us now caresses and riches and now pain and suffering. God counts your breaths and prolongs or breaks off your days. A wind arises and the earth shakes, and the world is filled with cries and lamentation. They didn't choose a good question asking Zol about birds. He knew everything. Oh my God, yeah, that was very sweet. I didn't think that when I read this, but yeah, this is like, just check the questions. I mean, one of the things interesting to notice about these kind of riddles is how they include absolutely everything. They include knowledge of the skies, they include knowledge of God, and how this world we are inhabiting in the Shāh-nāmeh is said to be fleeting and futile, because in Islam, as in any other monotheistic religion, what you are looking forward to is the next life, like the next eternal existence. And yeah, there's a lot, there's logical questions, there's mathematical questions that really test Zal in every single aspect. He should know because he's a prince, he's expected to. The man with the sharp scythe who cuts down both fresh and withered plants and who listens to no entreaties is Time the Reaper. So these creatures that just go like cutting off the grass is the reaper. Time is again passing of time, and we are like the plants who are cut, grandfather, grandchildren alike, since he looks at neither young nor old when he cuts down all his path. This is the way of the world, and no man is born from his mother but to die. These are all the riddles the sages questions are about, and when Zal finished his explanation, everyone there was astonished at his understanding. Manusher's heart was pleased. He enthusiastically applauded him and gave orders that a banquet as splendid as the full moon would be held. They drank wine until the world grew dark and their wits were befuddled. The courtiers' cries resounded about the court, and when they left, they did so happy and so drunk, grasping one another's arms. So Manusher is so pleased that he's gonna get the biggest hangover ever with the son of his best friend, because that's bonding, right? That's how people bond in medieval Iran, for sure. But yeah, now everything's done. Everything's proved. Well, actually not everything. Zal has proved his intelligence, but now he needs to prove his skills. When the sun rays appeared above the mountains with all of the hangover on top of their heads, and men were... Sorry, what? I know what happened right there. No, yeah. Yeah, Leta, you have a point. It's not that time, but don't worry too much. It actually it's like it's not important. So yeah, the next day when the sun rays appeared above the mountains and men woke from sleep, Zal came before the king like a ravening lion and asked permission to leave the court and join his father. He said to the king, I long to see Sam's face again, now that I have kissed the foot of your ivory throne and my heart has been gladdened by the sight of your crown and splendor. The king said to him, young hero, you're not going anywhere, my sweet boy. You must grant us one more day, just one. It's lawful Mehrab's daughter that makes you so eager to be off. What's this talk about missing Zal and Kabul? I love Manusher. So basically, Zal is like, oh, I want to go back to see my father. Now that I've been honored with your presence, I've been blessed, so I can go back to my dad. And Manusher is like, who are you trying to fool, kid? I've been in love. I know what you want to see is Rudabe's face and be with her again. Like, what's this nonsense about Kabul and Zam? I just really like Manusher. I do. Then he gave orders that cymbals, Indian bells and trumpets be sounded in the great square. Something's coming. Warriors gathered cheerfully there, bringing spears and maces and arrows and bows. There was a huge tree that had flourished for many months and years in the square. Zal grasped his bow and urged his horse forward. He's shooting from horse. Show them, Zal. You show them. Then you don't fool me. You're not anxious to see your tobacco, Dad. Oh my God, who would be? Like, no. It's really interesting because I really dislike some, but I really, really like Manusher. Like, huh. Anyway, yeah, so Zal jumps on the horse and grasps forward. Just urges it forward. He shot an arrow at the tree, and the royal shaft pierced the great trunk. Ooh! Then men bearing javelins set shields down. Zal asked his squire for a shield, squared his shoulders, and again urged his horse forward. He flung his bow aside, grasped a javelin, which he hurled at 3 stacked shields with such force that it passed straight through them. Boy, do you work out? The king turned to his noble warriors and said, which of you will fight him in single combat? Please don't say it. One of you should challenge him to what I say. Manusher, why don't you challenge him? I don't know if you're so sure. The warriors donned their armor and their heads were angry despite the cheerful remarks they made. They're like, no, there's no way we're going to defeat him. They twitched their horses' reins and rode onto the square, grasping spears and shining lances. Zal charged forward, the dust rising from his horse's hooves, watching for which proud warrior would oppose him. Just imagine Zal going around like, yeah, who dares to fight me? Who dares to challenge me? No one does. Like a monster, he galloped out of the dust, bearing down on a warrior and grasping him by the belt. Like he just grabs someone by the belt and lifts him up. He snatched him from the saddle with such ease that the king and his army stared in wonder. And do you know why they stared in wonder? Because this was exactly what Manusher did to his great uncle, Tur, when he defeated him. And then to Sam, I think, but to Salma, sorry. But yeah, it's a very hard thing to do. Sitting on a horse, grabbing your opponent by the belt and just lifting it up with one hand. Are we kidding? And of course, the opponent is resisting. It's not like he's like, you do you. I'm just going to put my hands up in the air like I just don't care. And no, the other person is resisting. So the assembly cried out that no one had ever seen his equal, and that the mother of any warrior who opposed him on the battlefield would be sure to wear the dark colors of mourning, because, yeah, whoever faced Zal in combat would be doomed. No lion had ever given birth to such a hero. Indeed, he should not be considered a mere hero, but a monster of war. And they said how fortunate Sam was that he would leave such a brave horseman in the world as his heir when he died. The king Manusher congratulated him, and the courtiers did so too, and the company returned to the palace. There Manusher prepared such gifts for Zal that they astonished the noblemen present. There were valuable crowns and golden thrones, armbands, tokens, golden belts, as well as splendid sets of clothes, slaves, horses, and you know the drill, many, many other things. So, what happened? Why asking Zal and then kind of tease him to fight Manusher's warriors? Because they're testing him. And they're testing him in fully, like of the fulliest thing. I've mentioned this before in these live streams, but there's this thing, these two concepts called Bazm and then Razm, which is the fight and the fist. These are the two things every prince should know and should be comfortable with doing. So that's the reason Zal has been tested first in his intelligence and his capacity to actually think and produce content up in here. And then, with his skills as a warrior, it's how actually brave, strong, skillful he is. And he just, he conquered. He saw, he came, he conquered, and yeah. And then Manusher is preparing all these wedding gifts for him, and also he's dictating an answer to Sam's letter. He says to his friend, "Brave warrior, victorious as a lion in all your ventures. The heavens have not seen you your like in battles." Sorry. We're getting to the end. And banquets, in policy and beauty. Your fine son has come to me, and I have learned of his wishes and the nature of his desire. I have granted all he has asked, and spent many happy days in his company. A lion like you, who has leopards as his prey, what else would he sire but a warlike lion cub? I set him back to you with a happy heart, and may evil keep its distance from him." Zal left the court and dispatched an envoy to Sam with his message. "I am returning from the king. My heart is happy, and I come with royal gifts, crowns, armbands, tokens, and ivory thrones." Sam was so overjoyed to receive this message that despite his age, his youth seemed to return to him. He dispatched an envoy to Kabul, telling Mehrab of Manusher's kind treatment to Zal, of the happiness that prevailed between them, and saying that both he and Zal would visit him as soon as Zal returned. So now that Manusher approves of the marriage, Sam has also made sure that Mehrab, Rudabeh's father, knows of this, that he's planning to go visit, informal visits, like in this formal engagement to the palace in Kabul to see Mehrab, to see Sindukht, and to see Rudabeh. I'm a sucker for happy endings, okay? I like happy endings. I enjoy them. They fill my heart with joy. There's already too many awful things in the world for us not to be really enjoying a nice happy ending. The envoy galloped to Kabul, and shouts of joy rose into the skies when he gave his news. The king of Kabul was beside himself with pleasure that he was to be related to the ruler of Zabulistan. Musicians and entertainers were summoned. Mehrab's heart was cleared of all anxieties, and there was a perpetual smile on his lips. It is known where Manusher's court is. It is in Persepolis? No. At this time, interesting question, because at this time when the Shāh-nāmeh was written, which is the 10th century, the Achaemenid dynasty was very unknown, almost unknown entirely to the Persians. Like to the Iranians, they didn't know about Persepolis. They knew, in fact, in Persepolis, there is this necropolis close by which is called Nakshe Rostam. This means the drawing, the picture of Rostam. And this is because they confused the Sasanian king Shapur I with Rostam, the hero from the Shāh-nāmeh. But they did not know what actually was going on there. There was no this knowledge of the past, because just think of it, between the 300 before Common Era and the 10th century, 11th century in Iran, there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time in between. There's more than 1,000 years in between. They didn't have that knowledge or the capacity to know about them. And they knew about the Sasanians because they kept the Shāh-nāmeh, which is another book. Actually, it's a dynastic book which the Shāh-nāmeh is based upon. But no, the knowledge of the Achaemenids was very little, and no. The court of Manusher is said to be in the center of Iran. It's not a place. It's not a place. Do not try to localize real places. This is it's a fiction story, and it's like the throne of Iran is rarely mentioned where it is. So it was not important because it's an epic. It's more like the message is more important than the location of it. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Mehrab's heart was cleared of all anxieties, and there was a perpetual smile on his lips. He called Sindocht and spoke kindly to her, saying, "You are a splendid wife, and such a sapling in the earth that princes pay homage. And your advice has brought us from darkness to light. You have planted such a sapling in the earth that princes pay homage to it. What you planned for has happened, and all my wealth is at your disposal, be it thrones or crowns or treasure." Because Sindocht knew this was going to be. She knew everything was going to go according to plan. She believed, she had faith, in God, in Zol, in Manusher, in this marriage, in this couple, this loving birds. And she knew. So now the king is coming to his wife to apologize and to say, everything I own is at your disposal because you deserve it. You've kept me sane, you've kept me quiet, just like rested and in peace with myself, so you deserve the world. And I love Sindocht. She is by far my favorite female character in the Shāh-nāmeh. I love her. I really like her. There's a lot of interesting characters in the Shāh-nāmeh, female characters. We shall get to her. But she queen! When Sindocht heard him, she went to her daughter to tell her the news. Yes, and said, "Good news. You will soon see, Zal. You have gained a husband who is worthy of you, a wife and a husband with your nobility of spirit would not endure the world's reproaches. You rushed to fulfill your heart's desire, and now you have found everything you sought." Rudabeh replied, "You are the king's consort, and worthy of praise from everyone. The dust beneath your feet is my pillow." Aziz man. "And your commands are my soul's comfort. May the eye of Ahriman be far from you, and your heart and soul always be filled with joy." Everyone's happy. Sindocht heard her, and then she set about preparing the palace for the visitors because someone's coming, And she had the audience hall decorated like a paradise, and rose water, wine, musk, ambergris were placed in there. She laid down a carpet worked in gold and sewn with emeralds, the shine, and another whose design was made of pearls, each of which shone like a drop of water. I don't get it. Then she placed a golden throne there with Chinese patterns on it, studded with jewels that framed carved reliefs, and its feet were made of rubies. Because we are not holding back. Like, you know, the sky's the limit. Just like. Next, she turned her attention to Rudabeh, adorning her like a paradise and writing magical incantations to the sun to protect her. I love this. I love this. The mom is protecting her daughter with allowed. Actually, this kind of magic is allowed in the Shāh-nāmeh to protect her baby. She's calling the sun. It's like there's too much going on. All right. It's like I'm very excited. All of Kabul was made beautiful with colors, fine fragrances, and precious objects. Wine was brought, and the elephants' backs were draped with Rumi brocade. Remember, Rumi means Byzantium in here, on which musicians sat wearing golden diadems. Everyone is getting ready for the wedding of the year. The welcoming party was put together, and slaves went ahead, scattering musk and ambergris and spreading silk and samite in the way. Musk and gold coins were scattered on the procession, and the ground was wet with rose water and wine. Meanwhile, Zal made all speed homeward, like a flying eagle or a skiff swimming in the water. No one was aware of his approach, and so no one went out to meet him. And suddenly a cry went up from the palace that Zal had arrived, because he didn't announce himself, because he is a dog. I love him, but he's an idiot. He doesn't know that he needs to announce himself because he's a prince. He just appears there like, ta-da! Residam, I have arrived. I love him. Sam went happily out to greet him. You know, this is kind of it's a thing, all right? Like, this is not something Zal should have done, but it's how the poem shows you Zal's personality, like how he still doesn't know, didn't get the grasp of things yet. So Sam, his father, went happily out to greet him and clasp him in his arms, holding him close for a long time, like this very tight hug. I always imagine, I'm going to say this after, I'm going to tell this afterwards. When Zal had freed himself from his father's embrace, he kissed the ground and then recounted all he had seen and heard. Sam and Zal sat on the thrones beside one another, and their lips were all smiles, and they talk of Sindoq's visit to Sam, because Zal didn't know this. Sam said, "A message came from Kabul, and the envoy was a woman called Sindoq. She wanted a promise from me that I would not act badly to her, and I gave her this, and then she asked for everything so charmingly that I granted all of it. First, she wanted Zabolistan's prince to marry the princess of Kabul, then that you and I visit her as guests, as recompense for the distress she had been through. Now a messenger has come from her saying that this business of her daughter has settled down, and now what should we tell this messenger? What answer should we send Mehrab?" Like, Sam is a little bit confused because Sam doesn't he doesn't quite understand what's going on. Then Zal was so happy that he blushed like a tulip from head to foot. He's completely red. "My dear baby, if you think it's suitable," he said, "send a detachment of troops and we'll come after them. We can visit them because we have a lot to discuss with them." Sam looked at Zal, and then he understood exactly and very well what his son wanted. He knew that Zal could not sleep at night and had no interest in any conversation that did not concern Mehrab's daughter. So Sam gave orders that bells and Indian chimes signaled their departure. The royal pavilion was struck, and a messenger was sent on ahead to announce to Mehrab that Sam, Zal, and a detachment of warriors and elephants would soon arrive. Mehrab had the drums sounded and trumpets blow. This must be such a noisy festivity, like just a compendium of very different noises, like very, very loud. Because you can imagine, like, the trumpets from one side are playing something, and the trumpets from the other side, like the party that's coming, are playing something else. The drums are like on top of each other. I know, the mess. Mehrab had the drum sounded and trumpet blown and drew up his army so that it glittered like a rooster's eye. The elephants and musicians and the various banners of red, white, yellow and purple silk made the earth seem like a paradise, and the ringing of bells, it seems like as if Judgment Day had come. So yeah, it's loud. This was the manner in which Mehrab went forward to welcome Sam, and when he saw him, he dismounted from his horse and walked forward. Sam embraced him and asked him how fate had dealt with him. Mehrab, for his part, called down blessings on both Sam and Zol, and then mounted his swift charger again, like the new moon rising above the mountains. These are the tiny details I really like about Shāh-nāmeh. He placed a golden crown studded with jewels on Zal's head, and the group arrived in Kabul happily laughing and chatting together. Everyone's just so happy. And I'm living for this. The town was so full of the sound of Indian chimes, lutes, harps and trumpets that it seems to be transformed. The horse mane was soaked in musk, wine and saffron, and drummers and trumpeters were mounted on elephants. I've got lost. Yeah, 300 slaves carrying golden goblets filled with musk and jewels called down blessings on Sam and then scatter the goblets' jewels before him, and whoever came to the festivities wanted for nothing. Sam smiled and then said to Simdocht, "How long are you going to keep Rudabeh hidden?" In the same manner, Simdocht replied, "And where is the gift you will give? If you wish to see the sun." Queen, 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 queen. I love her. I love her. I really like her. Sam answered, "Ask me for whatever you wish." They went to the golden apartment in which the happiness of spring, this is Rudabeh, awaited them. Then Sam looked at Rudabeh and was overcome with wonder. He did not know how to praise her adequately, or how to keep his eyes from being dazzled by her splendor. Then he commanded Mehrab to come forward, and the marriage was solemnized according to ancient custom. Zol and Rudabeh were sat side by side on the throne, and agates and emeralds were scattered over them. Rudabeh wore splendid diadem, and Zol a jewel-studded crown. A list of the treasures he was giving them was brought to Mehrab, and as it was read out, it seemed men's ears could not listen until the end because the list was so long. Bye, Serapis! Thank you. From there, they went to a banqueting hall where they sat with wine cups in their hands for a week. They are partying for a week. Oh my goodness. And then returned to the palace where the festivities went on for 3 more weeks, an entire month of festivities to commemorate the wedding of Zal and Rudabeh. They're married. They did it. They did it. Yes, they did. At the beginning of the following month, Sam began his journey home to Sistan, together with Zol, the elephants and drums, and the troops who had accompanied them. Zol had howdahs and litters made for Mehrab's womenfolk, and a palanquin for Rudabeh, and she, Simdocht, and Mehrab and their family set out to Sistan. They're going to travel with the daughter, they're going to stay here for a while, and then they're going to come back to Simdocht, and Mehrab are going to come back to Kabul. They traveled happily, praising God for his gifts, and arrived in high spirits, laughing and smiling. Then Sam bestowed sovereignty over Sistan on Zol and unfurled his auspicious banner to lead his troops once again towards the land of the Goksaran and Bactria. So Sam is leaving again, but now he is fully putting in charge Zol in the throne as the king of Zabulistan. And this is where we're going to stop, because this is where, this is where it ends. The cycle, the love story of Zol and Rudabeh ends here. And I am just very happy. I'm just very, very happy. I love this story. I love happy endings, and I really like this one. Because if you've been with me in the readings of the Shāh-nāmeh, you know that they are not abundant. As in, like, the happy endings, these kind of sweet up note finales, they're not that common. And the story of Zol and Rudabeh is a story that tells us a lot about many things, about love, about sacrifice, about effort. It also contains one of the most interesting female characters ever, because Rudabeh is lovely and I really love her. But Sindokt, this mom that would fiercely fight for her daughter and her daughter's safety, which is something that gets me every time. This thing that I wanted to say is that the poem doesn't say, because it doesn't say but. Every time I read it, I imagine Simurgh is there somehow, flying over the skies without being perceived, without being noticed, but accompanying his son Zol throughout this journey, throughout this love story. I really, really believe she was there somehow, like watching from the distance and leaving her little baby develop and understand the world of men and women, yet observing him, just, waiting on hold in case she has to intervene and protect him. Because, I always thought that perhaps the wedding day, it rained, and that meant that Simurgh was around, because she is, as you know, she's a storm bird and she has controls over the weather. She's a storm cloud. So that is just something that this is like a good treat to my imagination. Again, the poem, no, Simurgh wouldn't let anything bad happen to Zol. Absolutely not. She will take care of him, and as she does until the very end, because she never abandons him. So that's my little, that's the little piece of candy I give to my imagination every time I read the Shāh-nāmeh, which, by the way, I do very often. And as you can see, I work with this book. And but yeah, I want to think, I do believe that Simurgh was there. At least for me, she was. Somehow. Hidden in a corner of the cloud. Seeing how her little baby Zol was happy getting married. I love this so much. Anyway, this is the end of the stream. Thank you for coming to the reading session. I hope you had a great time, which for sure I did. I really, really enjoyed this. You know, I really like reading the Shāh-nāmeh with you, and this was one of my favorite parts, one of my favorite stories. And now you know Zol and Rudabeh, and know all the details about them. Thanks, Plumazune. It was very interesting. Thank you so much, Naeem. Thank you, Noceros. I'm really happy you enjoyed it. And just thank you as always for your company. I hope I made Monday a little less of a Monday. But these drinks make my day better. Azizam, thank you so much. That's what I'm here for. This is what this is about, just making you feel a little bit better and make you enjoy the stories and the mythologies from Iran. And as I said, remember, next week there's not going to be a live stream, and the next week is going to be the last of the season. So if you have any special requests, drop me a message. You can find me on the socials of the project, Twitter, Instagram. Again, thanks so much to my patrons who support me. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for everything. Something's coming to Patreon. I said that. Something's coming. Something big. Not that big, but something is coming to Patreon. And that's pretty much it. Thank you to everyone, and just yeah, it's the time I set you free. This is the moment we say Khodafis to each other. Thank you so much, No Soy Rose. Just remember, remember to create, remember to explore, and remember to have as much fun as possible. Until we see each other next time, I bid you Khodafis. Well, now exactly the song has to finish, but I'm gonna wait. Come on, Frank. Play Fly Me to the Moon. Until the next time we see each other, I say to you, Khodafis!